Take a good look at these images. Drones attacking Ukrainian cities. Buildings being destroyed. Terrified families. Attacks like this happen every week. At night. During the day. Russia has been attacking Ukraine for almost 4 years and uses hundreds of drones like this every day. But these drones are not Russian, they're Iranian, developed and manufactured in Iran. Now comes the scary part. Iran is setting up a factory for these same drones. In Venezuela, under 2,000 kilometers from the United States, with Iranian technicians and Iranian components, producing the same weapons you just saw devastating Ukraine, but now on the other side of the Atlantic, and the reason behind it is frightening. Keep watching, because this could change everything in the coming months. The relationship between Iran and Venezuela didn't start yesterday. In fact, it began in 1960 when the two countries helped found Organization of the Petroleum Exporting Countries. For decades, it was just business, nothing special, but everything changed. In the early 2000s, two men came to power, Mahmoud Ahmadinejad in Iran and Hugo Chavez in Venezuela. These two leaders had something in common. They hated the United States. For years, they signed hundreds of agreements. Billions of dollars officially were about the economy, factories, construction, civil projects. But behind the scenes, the plans were different. They built a military and intelligence network until 2020, the year everything changed. Venezuela collapsed, a country with one of the largest oil reserves in the world, but that couldn't produce gasoline. The refineries stopped working, huge lines formed at gas stations, cars were abandoned on the roads, and worse, Maduro's security forces were running out of fuel. Without fuel, they couldn't maintain control. The regime was on the verge of collapse, and when an authoritarian regime is desperate, it makes dangerous deals. That's when Iran showed up. In May 2025, Iranian oil tankers crossed the Atlantic, their destination, Venezuela. They were carrying more than 1 million barrels of gasoline and equipment to repair the refineries, but that wasn't all. Iranian planes started flying directly to Caracas, regular flights week after week. These planes brought technicians from the Iranian Revolutionary Guard and military equipment. And do you know how Venezuela paid for all of this? With gold. 9 tons of gold bars, $500 million in pure gold, loaded onto planes and sent to Iran. No bank was used, no dollars changed hands. It was a transaction completely outside the American system, and that's when Iran realized something that would change everything. Venezuela wasn't just a trading partner, it was a military base 2,000 kilometers from the United States, and that's exactly what they started to build. Then in 2023, something strange started to happen in Venezuela. El Libertador Air Base near the capital, Caracas. Satellite images showed unusual activity, new buildings being constructed, huge hangars, a lot of movement, many vehicles. Entire areas were isolated. And then American intelligence confirmed that Iran was setting up a drone factory there. Not ordinary drones, but military drones. The same ones you saw at the beginning of this video. Shahd 136 kamikaze drones. So what now? Each carries 50 kilograms of explosives, flies to its target, and explodes, with a range of 2,500 kilometers. They have a big advantage for Iran. They cost only $20,000 each. Compare that to a conventional missile, which costs millions for a single missile. You make hundreds of these drones. That's why they're so dangerous. You can send dozens of them at once, overwhelm the defenses, and make sure some get through. And now Venezuela has the capability to produce these same drones, with Iranian technicians supervising everything, with parts arriving on direct flights from Iran. But there's more. There's a whole operation to sustain this, a sort of air bridge between Iran and Venezuela. Since 2020, Iranian planes have been flying regularly to Caracas. Officially, they're passenger flights, but witnesses at the airports tell a different story. The planes stop in the cargo areas, not in the regular terminals. Large boxes are unloaded, no one declares what's inside, and the crew often includes Iranian military personnel. In 2022, this operation came to light when a Venezuelan plane was detained in Argentina, a huge Boeing 747. The Argentine authorities investigated and discovered something shocking. The captain of the plane was a former Iranian military commander from the Revolutionary Guard. This plane had flown between Iran and Venezuela more than 20 times, and no one knows what it was carrying. After 2 years, the plane was handed over to the United States, but the flights continue to this day. But that's just the tip of the iceberg, because while planes were bringing in technicians, ships were moving something even bigger: money. A giant operation at sea, one of the largest oil smuggling operations in the world, works like this. Oil tankers are registered in countries like Liberia, Guyana, Panama, and they carry Venezuelan oil. But during the trip, something happens. The ship's tracking signal is turned off, that system that shows where each ship is in the world. The ship disappears from the radar, sails in the dark for days, and then reappears. But now the documents state the oil is Brazil's. Fake certificates are created and the ship heads to China. There, Chinese companies buy the cargo and pay Venezuela, usually in Chinese currency or cryptocurrencies. All of this bypasses American sanctions. In 2024, Venezuela was exporting 350,000 barrels per day to China. In 2025, that number rose to 460,000, an increase of more than $30 billion per year. Funds sustaining Maduro's regime and supporting Iranian operations in Venezuela. There's a ship that shows very well how this works. Miss Karina, American intelligence tracked this ship, which falsified its position several times. It was transporting oil from Venezuela when it vanished. After a while, it reappeared as if from Brazil. Another ship was captured by the United States Coast Guard, the motor tanker's skipper. Inside, there were fake documents and $35 million worth of Venezuelan oil. But that's just one. The entire fleet has dozens of ships doing this. But then something changed the game completely, something that made all of this much more dangerous. In January 2025 in Moscow, Russian President Putin and the Iranian president signed a treaty, a 20-year agreement between Russia and Iran. The treaty has 47 articles covering military cooperation, intelligence sharing, and sanctions evasion. Basically, Russia and Iran have formalized an alliance. And do you know what that means for Venezuela? It means that Iranian operations there now have Russian protection. If the United States attacks Iranian facilities in Venezuela, Russia might get involved. Do you get it? Iran isn't alone in Venezuela anymore. Russia now protects its operations. Any American military action now risks a confrontation with Moscow. There's an even bigger factor: China's role in this. China doesn't provide weapons directly, but it provides something equally important: money and infrastructure. Just look at what's happening in Nicaragua. China is building a giant airport there, a $400 million loan. It's officially for tourism, but check the details. A 3,600-meter runway, enough for the largest cargo planes in the world, huge fuel facilities, all of this in a country that barely receives any tourists. What they're really building is a foothold, a place where heavy planes can land, refuel, and continue, reducing the distance between Iran and Venezuela and putting more military infrastructure closer to the United States. Nicaragua's location is perfect for this, close to the Panama Canal, right in the middle of Central America. And China is funding everything, so you have Iranian military technology, Russian diplomatic protection, and Chinese infrastructure, all converging in Latin America. But there's another element that few people know about: Hezbollah. In 2008, the American government reported something alarming. Venezuela was harboring members of Hezbollah. Hezbollah is a group supported by Iran and based in Lebanon. They were operating freely in Venezuela. One of the most well-known names is Ghazi Nasir al-Din, a Venezuelan diplomat of Lebanese origin. He used his position to raise money for Hezbollah and to move operatives around the region. To this day, he remains a fugitive. Another name, Tariq el-Aissami, former Minister of Oil of Venezuela. He had documented connections with Hezbollah and operated a network selling Venezuelan passports. Passports that were sold to people from the Middle East, including individuals with terrorist ties. Although el-Aissami was arrested in 2023, the network he built continues. So you have not only drones and planes, you also have human intelligence cells in the region, people trained in covert operations, in clandestine logistics. And now comes the part that should really make you worried. All this infrastructure I showed you, all this network of drones, planes, ships, money, it's getting more sophisticated. The Shahed 136, which you saw at the beginning, has a range of 2,500 kilometers, but Iran already has more advanced versions, testing drones with greater range, missiles, and hypersonic weapons. If these technologies reach Venezuela, Miami, Houston, and New Orleans, everything will be accessible. And now, yes, let's talk about what this means. First, Iran now has military capability in the Western Hemisphere for the first time in history. If the United States or Israel attack Iran, it can respond close to home in Latin America where defenses are weaker. Second, this forces the United States to split its resources. Each unit in the Caribbean is a unit that is not in the Pacific. Facing China, that's exactly what China wants. Third, sixth, it creates a dangerous precedent. If Iran can do this without consequences, others might try as well. North Korea already has ties with Venezuela and also threatens the whole region, Colombia, Guyana, and Caribbean countries. Everyone is exposed. And here's the critical point: technology is not standing still. Iran has already tested drones with greater range, hypersonic missiles. If these weapons reach Venezuela, if they are produced, everything changes 2,000 kilometers from Miami. So let's be direct. While the world was watching Ukraine, Gaza, and Taiwan, this network was built in the shadows, and now we've reached a critical point. The coming years will reveal if this situation could worsen further, or if it will finally be confronted. Now tell me something. Do you think the United States should take military action against these facilities in Venezuela? Leave your opinion in the comments. I want to know what you think, and if this video made you think differently about what's happening in Latin America. Share this with someone who needs to know about it, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the bell so you don't miss the next videos. See you next time.